Hello and welcome to the channel. I'm Cindy Daychuck with Queen Bee Creations, and I'm delighted that you chose to spend some time with me here today. If you have not already subscribed, go ahead and do that. We come at you at least twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, with new videos, and no guarantees about what they're about. I don't know. It depends upon what has piled up here at the shop, what new ideas I've gotten that I want to give a try to, or sometimes as well ideas and suggestions of things that you'd like me to give a go. So hit me up with any of those along the way. Today's video though is all about outdoor decor items. I've had quite a few of these starting to pile up, requiring my attention, and it's kind of the season for it. We're just moving into major barbecue season, weather's getting warmer, people are spending more time outdoors, they're trying to beautify their front porches, back patios, and I've got a lot of items here that I need to get busy with to help them do that. So all these things go into my shop. They're available as well, queenbeecreationshome.com. There's the decor section, so you can purchase the furniture and decor items that you see me painting and zhuzhing and those kinds of things. But if you would like to do it yourself, then there is certainly as well the section on the website with all of the paint and supplies that I use. So let me give you an idea of some of the things that I've got in store for us. What have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different things, from small to bigger. So I often get gifted things. I have a wonderful gentleman actually that I've met while out thrifting, and we've become kind of pals. He loves garage sailing and he looks for little items for me. So this is, a couple of these are his finds actually. So this little galvanized metal plant hanger, I love the little lattice on it. It makes it a little bit more special than just a flat hanger. It just needs a little zhuzhing, a little cleaning certainly, and going from there. We have this little stand that I came across. So I think that it's super cute. It's kind of a revamped, possibly a revamped candlestick holder. This seems like a candlestick base, and they've got this, the threaded, I was gonna say threaded wire, but you get what I'm saying. And I think that they've kind of put it together, but I love this. And I think that we can do something with this for outdoors that will be cute and fun. Now, one of the items I was gifted with is this old planter, this old boot planter. Now it's got a big honking hole in there, and I think in the toe as well. Well, you know what? Maybe that's just a normal thing in an old boot. But, I don't know, we're gonna try. We're gonna see if we can zhuzh that up. This is a given, right? Anytime that you find this. This is metal, but it's such a beautiful size. Be able to fit in either a huge big pillar candle in there for the backyard, or just, you know, a battery operated one, or like a big plant with trailing vines would look beautiful in this. So it's kind of chipped up and dirty looking right now, but we're going to give it some new paint and a little bit new finish, and we'll beautify this baby up. That's such an easy fix, right? A little bit of paint pretty much and you're there. This guy, okay, this is so heavy. This was also one to, you know, a garage sale find, not mine. I don't have time to go garage sailing. Look at this baby. So cool, right? He is heavy as heck. So before you ask, if you're on the shop site and you're going, oh my God, is that how much it costs to ship him? Yes, because he is friggin' heavy. So he is wired to hang. Just make sure it's a really good hanger. But he is super cool, just even as a garden accent on the ground. He's old, dirty, tired looking. We're gonna wash him up, paint him up, finish him up, and he should look pretty cute, pretty cool. So, oh, he's gonna give me a workout. Okay, couple of other things for the wall. I have two of these. Wow. Two of these that, again, they need washing. So lovely frame, but they've got 4 pot hangers. So either tea light hangers or pot hangers on them. They look awesome on your wall, on your fence, you know, in the backyard, to be able to add a little something kind of, you know, pretty up or make look interesting, a great big long honking fence line. So I have 2 of them that we're going to be doing, and they're not going to take a lot from us, but we're going to brighten them up a little bit, give them a little bit more paint, and then we're done with those. This next big mamma jamma, the last item we're going to be doing is this baby. Is this big honkin' candelabra. So it's got the five tiers. It's dirty, it's rusty. We're going to fix it up, and I'll wait and I'll tell you after what I have in mind and what I'm going to play with on this one. But perfect for the outside. Now the only thing for the outside is that if you experience really hot weather, like on your back patios, and again, you know, like if you've got patio stones, things like that, that just builds the heat sometimes. Having big candelabras like this may sound good with real candles, but unless you are taking your candles in and out all the time, which I don't remember to do, then often you come back and your candles are like this big melted puddle hanging off of these because it gets too hot and they melt during the daytime. So you can do a couple of things with this, and when we get to it, I'll let you know. Now, this is going to get painted black. These metal frames are going to get a base coat of black, but then we're going to lighten them up over top. So those as well will get just a cleaned up coating of black, and then they're done. I think this one will too. We're gonna lighten this up, but I think I want black on the base on this one. So I'm just mentioning those because I'm gonna open the big doors in the back, and I'm just gonna spray them all down. You don't need to see that, but I want you to know that's what I'm doing. And then we'll come back with some of these other projects as we get started on them. It's going to be fun. So some are going to be really simple. Some are going to be a little bit more involved because I think we need to have some fun too. And some people have very colorful backyards. Some keep it nice and simple and neutral. A little bit for everybody. We'll see how it goes. While everything that is being spray painted is drying, I just wanted to come on and quickly give you a heads up on what I'm going to be doing to our little boot here. So one of the easiest ways to kind of fix the few little holes on this before we start painting is to fill it with like a gap and crack filler. So this is like one of those spray foam things. Just make sure the nozzle is attached really well. You put it in and it can come out super, super fast. I am just kind of, let me shake it up again. I'm just releasing it slowly so that I don't end up with a ton of it all over the place. So I like to overfill because that I can just slice off tomorrow. So once it's all dry, I can just slice that off and sand it down so it'll be nice and smooth. I think that was it. I think I just had the 2 holes. Okay, oh, just put my finger in it. All right, a little bit more over here now that I stuck my finger in. So what I'm gonna do is when I slice that off and then sand it, I will then seal it. Okay, stop waving the boot around. So then I will seal it before I paint it as well. But we'll come back and I'll show you how I do that. Okay, so here's our spray foam here. And you can see, like it dries really hard. It dries firm. So I have to do this facing me, but I'm just taking a knife and I'm just going to be kind of sort of flush cutting this away. And if I don't get it right, nice and close, because this sticks out, that's okay because I'm going to sand it anyway. But what I'm looking at is just getting enough of it away to make it worth my while. So I just need to take some, and I've got 320 grit sandpaper, so I just want to start to lightly sand it off. I can still use some of the knife. And there's a boot edge there, so let me just do that. So I'm just going to do that, sand it off, get it nice and smooth, and then I'm just going to spray it with, this is a Varathane outdoor sealer. So it's for the exterior. I'm just going to seal over this because it's a little bit porous before I start to paint. So I'm going to do that to the top and to the toe. For our little wall planter, this is a nice metallic one. I'm going to do this step of the process. Forgot my paint can opener key. I'm going to use the new Haint Blue in the Cottage Colors by DIY. This is an all-in-one paint. Because this is going to be outside, I'm just making it a little bit more hardy, right, to withstand some of the outside weather. So I'm going to be painting it in at least 2 coats, probably 2 coats. This first one, just a nice light coat to get the paint on, get it sticking to that galvanized metal. The next coat will stick to this paint, so I'll get even better coverage with it. But I'm gonna get 2 coats of the Haint Blue on this. I'm also going to use the Haint Blue on our little birdhouse. This looks blue. All I did was I had a little tiny bit of an old chalk paint, spray paint in a light blue to give it a base coat, to use up that paint, so then I don't need as much of this, and because I like the contrast. So I'm gonna paint this with the Haint Blue as well. All right, so both those things getting painted in the Haint Blue before we move on to the next step with either of them. All right, we've got our big cement, I don't know what you call this guy, cement face? Yeah. And we're gonna start working on him. Now, to start, I mean, he's been washed off and scrubbed. This is as good as it gets. So what I am going to do, oh my gosh, he's so heavy. I have some Gravel Road by DIY. So it's kind of like a nice, kind of light gray. And we are just going to kind of cover it all up. So I'm not looking at this being, you know, super bright or anything. And I am going to look at aging him, but I want to get a first coat on that kind of cleans him up. So I'm using a chip brush for this because he's got a lot of kind of crevices, nooks and crannies, and you know, there's a lot happening here, and it's a rough texture. So I'm not looking for this to be something that destroys my good brushes and the bristles on my good brushes. And concrete is kind of rough in texture at the best of times. So I'm just using the chip brush and kind of swirling it around to get it down into everything that's happening here. Okay, Let's talk about our boot now. We did the spray foam insulator to seal it, and I did a little bit of a Varathane coat just to kind of cover over that. And then I used some construction adhesive over that to give it a little bit more substance. And now I am finishing off with just a little bit of wood filler. So I am going to just cover that over with some of the wood filler, just again, to be able to smooth it out and give kind of a sandable, paintable surface. So I'm just going to get some of that on, let it dry, sand it out as needed, and then I'm going to paint the entire boot in like a creamy white. So I think this is Vintage Linen by DIY. I'm trying to remember all the names now. So next time you see this guy, he will all be an off-white. This has been spray painted, so I like to do a lot of thin coats. So it's all well coated, and it has been sprayed a couple of times with an outdoor sealer. So want to make sure that it's something that can, you know, stand up to some rain and that sort of thing. Now, instead of just calling it quits, we've got two more things we need to do. And the first is I want to attach some solar lights to it. Putting candles outside, unless you're going to be putting them on, taking them off every time that you want to use them, if you've got heat like we've had the past couple of days, there's just going to be melted blobs dripping down the sides of this. So instead I want to add some solar lights onto the top. But most of them have, you know, like they come with spikes to attach onto here and then to dig down into the ground. So I'm not going to be using those. Who knows, may need them for another project. And I don't want this part either. I want it to just be flush. So what I am going to do is I am going to take, I've got a foot pedal here. I'm going to take a Dremel tool, and I'm just going to use this slicing blade to then slice this off nice and flush. And I have one done because you're not going to want to listen to the noise. So taking off the spike so that it is nice and flush. And the cool thing about this is that there is a hole in it, which is going to be able to fit over top of the spike. So I need to get 5. So I need 4 more of these done before the next step. So I'm gonna take this, cut it away, and this also helps grind it smooth a little bit, so get the excess plastic off, and then we'll be ready to attach. Have my lanterns ready to attach, but what I am also going to do to this is I just want to bling it up a little bit. So I have some gold leaf rub and buff, which cures on its own. It's pretty hardy. It's going to stand up to some of the weather. And I just want to add like a little dab onto my finger and just kind of rub, you know, just roughly around some of the trims. So I'm not looking at it being perfect, and I'm not looking at putting it everywhere, but I am looking at just kind of highlighting some of the details and getting a little bit of some accent happening on the piece so that it's just not so stark. So we're just gonna kind of add little touches of this. Right? So you can see it just kind of picks it up a little bit. So I'm gonna get all those added on. I'm gonna get all that added on, and then come back at ya to attach the lanterns, but the one thing that I will do is I will do a little bit of the rub and buff as well along some of the edges on this, just so that it ties it all in and it looks uniform. Right, now that we've got the gold outlining, just a little bit of the detail, kind of a bit of a bling on this, let's just get our lanterns on. So the nice thing about this is there is a little hole that goes up through the center of these, which is going to be perfect for fitting this on. I had thought maybe I'd have to drill a little hole in there, and they seem to fit just fine. So what I have is I have some E6000, but this is E6000 plus all weather glue. So it's designed to be okay. I just need something to poke a hole in this. It's designed to be okay outside as well as inside, and E6000 tends to hold pretty darn tight. So what I want to do is definitely have it sitting right in the middle where we're going to stick this onto that little hole, and I just have to kind of make this fit a little bit tighter, okay, and square it off, and do this on all 5, and then this baby is done. Remember this little guy? It was all mismatched, so spray painting it black, and this is with a spray paint with a sealer, just kind of unified the whole piece, right? It's kind of a married concoction of somebody else's design, but it's very much the kind of thing I would have done. So I want to do 2 last things to this, because apart from making it a unified color, it doesn't need much, but 2 things to zhuzh it up. 1, I'm going to use some silver gilding wax. Usually I'm using gold. Occasionally I use copper. Today, I just want to try silver for a change. So just to kind of give a little bit more detail. Whoa, that just decided to kind of shear itself out of the container. It was obviously under a bit of pressure saying, use me. All right, so I put it over here to dab instead, because I like to just kind of get it happening light. But you know, right now this is all just very flat looking. So the idea is I just take it on a little bit on my finger, and you can see very small amounts because I don't want it to be too heavy. But I'm just going to kind of rub it so that it goes onto the highs and reveals a little bit of the detail. And this product kind of self-seals as well. So I'm just going to be adding it on and then not worrying about it, which is awesome because I've got enough projects and enough steps. And you know, when you're flipping things, you want to look for some items that really, you know, you might have to put in a little bit more work on some, but you don't want all of them to require tons of your work and effort. I mean, sometimes thrifted items, all you're doing is cleaning them, and then you're cool to just be able to resell them as is. Other things you may have to add a bit of paint onto. Other things, you know, sometimes it's just paint and a little bit of gilding. Now we're going to do another a little something something with this. But you know, this was a spray paint, so it's really not required a lot of my time or a lot of my effort, which I was able to devote to some other items instead. So it's kind of a bit of a balancing act, but it is something to keep in mind when you are looking at thrifting an object, right? Is, okay, terrific. How much can I fix that up perhaps? But then how much can I sell it for, and is that going to give me a return on the time I've invested, the materials I've invested, and you go from there. So you can see that's what the little gilding wax, the silver, is going to do, is it's just going to add a little bit of bling. It's going to highlight those details. And I'm going to add it along the edging here, a little bit on the leaves as well. And once I've got that done, then I'll bring you back and show you the last step to this little makeover, and we'll have it done. Next step. So we're planning on using this outdoors, and I mean, you could add in anything that you want in this little section. You could just put in decorative greenery, faux greenery if you wanted, or you could put like, you know, little nuts or something if you wanted. But really, you're looking at this top piece maybe holding a candle. And because it's outdoors, if we just inserted a pillar candle in there, it's going to be susceptible to the wind and getting blown out. So what I happen to have is an old glass top that goes to a light fixture. This would have been one that sits more like this. We're going to insert it in there. And it just kind of gives just a cute little old time feel to the piece. The scalloped edge kind of fits with a little bit of the scallop ridge on here. And you can still then insert your candle down in there and have it protected from the wind. So you could just sit it down in there, or you could choose to glue it down in there. I'm gonna leave it just sitting because it's really pretty solid. These serve as kind of clasps, right? That you can kind of squeeze it together a little bit so that when you squish this down in, you sort of grab it. If I was going to glue it down, then I would use something like my E6000, the outdoor version, so that it's good for all weather. But I like that it becomes interchangeable, so that if somebody really wanted a taller candle, that they could get more of a hurricane kind of shade to it. But I'm gonna leave it so that you can take it out. But super cute little look to that one. This guy, oh Lord, he's so heavy. So I've got him with a single coat of the gray paint from DIY, right? And I used Gravel Road. And then I have sealed it. Because of this next step, I want to be able to wipe back more on the piece. And so I wanted to have a slick surface. Otherwise, the gray paint just would have absorbed the finish that we're going to do. So here's what I got. I got a little mixing container, got a spoon, I've got my little brush, and I have a mess of little shop towels. Okay, I don't have a mess of them. I have two. Okay. I thought I had a mess on the roll. Okay, and I've got some other cloth. It'll be okay. And I have some outdoor water-based crystal clear sealer. So again, because I'm planning on all these things being outside, I want to use the water-based just so that they're more protected. I mean, they're not going to last forever. Nothing does outside. And again, they're going to last differently in different climates. I mean, here in, you know, where I am in Ontario, Canada, if you're leaving it outdoors all year, then it's not going to last as long going through the heat of the summer, where, you know, we're here at over 30 degrees right now, 30 degrees Celsius. And then winter with all of the snow and all of the elements and going significantly below freezing. I mean, nothing lasts forever here when you're going from those kinds of extremes. But, you know, it is what it is. So I am in essence going to make my own glaze. So it's already been sealed. I'm adding more sealer. But what I'm doing is I'm taking that sealer, putting it into a container. Let me pop the lid back on this so that it doesn't dry out. And then I'm taking Bohemian Blue paint from DIY, and I'm going to add it into my sealer. So in essence, I am tinting it. I did, 1.5 globs of it in there. And you can see, pretty intense. Now DIY is one of the most heavily pigmented paints out there. And you could have done like a paint wash with this. You could have just diluted the paint with some water and washed it over, and then I would have had to have sealed over top of it anyway. Adding it into the sealer just means I don't have to do it again, okay? Because I didn't add so much paint that the integrity of the sealer was lost. So adding like a teaspoon or so of it into, this is maybe 2/3 of a cup. The integrity is still there. Now, what I want to do is I want this to sit in a bunch of the lows. Kind of stain it a little bit. Oh, that's such a nice color, okay? And then I want to kind of wipe it away. So it's going to make my gray a little bit more into the teal range, but it's going to sit down into the crevices, and it's going to make those details stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to be painting it on, and I'm going to be rubbing it off. And because there's like in the leaves, there's some veining and all that kind of stuff, it's going to show. It's going to sit in there. So this is going to be a little bit more in the blue tone and the gray tone when this is done. But in essence, that's really all I'm doing is I'm taking my little chip brush and I am brushing this on, and then I'm taking my towels. You can see why I said I'm gonna need a mess of them. So off camera, I'll grab more, and then I'm wiping away. You could wear gloves for this. I'm gonna go get one. But it's gonna sit in all of the lows. It's going to give it more of a blue cast because I'm using that Bohemian Blue, which I love. But it's going to be perfect over that light gray. All right, I'm still working on this guide, but I wanted to bring you on to show you the half and half, right? So you can see how much more the glazing makes him kind of punch, just kind of stand out a little bit. Now you could have chosen to use because we used a light gray, you could have gone a darker gray with the glaze. You could have gone into maybe a taupe color if you still wanted to have some of the details show up, but you wanted to keep it into the neutrals rather than going into this rich kind of tealy blue. So you could have taken it in another color direction, but whatever glazing that you did would have this effect, would make some of those details stand out. So I'm loving the teal, I love the boho blue, but you could have gone in another color direction. You can buy in the hardware store small tins of, like in the chalked line that Home Depot carries, they have small tins of like gray glaze and stuff. So if you don't want to mix your own, you can buy that. But if you already have the exterior sealer and you've got paint, like why not just mix your own, right? Mix what you need for a special project, and then you don't have to worry about all those sealers in the different colors going to waste because they dry out before you get to using them up in any way. But okay, I'm going to finish this baby off. The only thing I'm debating is whether or not when it's dry, I add a bit of gold gilding. I seem to be gilding a lot. Maybe I'm getting addicted. So I have to decide whether or not that's too much, whether or not we just leave him as is. So I'll be deciding as I keep going, but he's got to dry fully anyway before that happens. But don't forget, like especially with something like cement, which is very porous, if you've painted it, before you would want to do any of this kind of glazing, you're going to want to seal it first before you do the glazing. Otherwise, that glaze is just going to absorb right into your paint and into your piece, and you're not going to have any ability to wipe it back and soften it in any way. So I'm going to carry on and put it off to the side to dry, and then bring you back for an update on a couple of our other projects. So many things in the works here. And I just about forgot, I had this set off to the side. So our lovely little planter box, we painted in the paint blue, and we just need to zhuzh it up a little bit. So what I have is a transfer from the ephemeral melange packet. So what I'm looking at doing is cutting this down on the top a little bit, just so it sits better on my surface. And then I'm going to cut it down right where it's going. Oh, lost my spot already. Okay, goes on that side. So cutting it down to fit here. And once I've applied this onto my piece, it's going to apply super easy because this is painted with that all-in-one paint. I will need to seal it again. So I will take my outdoor sealer and I will seal it. Just eyeballing it. So we'll just apply this across the top, and I'll see about whether or not some of those little flowers fit on the sides. I'll get it sealed, and then this guy will be done. If you recall, we had these panels that were in a really bad way with kind of bronzy, blacky, whatever. So I just wanted to let you know, I've updated them. I said I was going off to spray paint them, and I did. I evened out the black and then didn't like it, so I painted them white. And now they're done. You know, I painted it with a white self-sealing spray paint just from the hardware store, and all they need are little glass jars to drop in some tea lights, or little terracotta pots with some flowers. But just wanted to let you know that those two babies are off drying. They're still a little sticky, so I'm not handling it too much. But they're off drying. So in essence, they're done. So now I'm thinking, I got 3 projects done. Yes. So let me talk to you about the problem child now. There's always one project that doesn't quite end up going like I think, or in the direction that I'm thinking. Oh my gosh, I'm looking at my hair. That's awful, but it's really hot. So, and that's this guy. So he was, I spray painted him blue at first because I wanted the spray paint to go up inside so that the inside was sort of finished. And then I painted him in the all-in-one paint blue from DIY in the cottage colors. And he's just boring. I'm looking at him going, I'm not loving you. So, and I think that my last thrift flip video, I painted the cow in paint blue. And then I did some transfers and I loved them. So that's what we're gonna do. And because it's got all these cutouts and stuff, I didn't think flowers would work because all those holes are gonna interrupt it. So, you know, if you had small flowers. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna add lemons. So I have a roll of the lemon drop transfer, which now comes in a pad. So this is old stock. But I'm thinking that if I applied lemons to it, like, that would show. Like if I had a bunch of overlapping lemons. So that's what we're gonna try, because the worst thing that happens is I still don't like it. And since I already don't like it, I'm not too worried about that. So the idea here is that I am going to add lemons to it. I already know these transfers are gonna stick to the paint blue just fine. The only difference for this is that when it's done, I will need to seal over top of it. Even though the paint is already sealed, the transfer isn't. And if we're taking this outside, it's not going to stand up to the outside weather conditions without some sealer over it. So I'm kind of going over, the point isn't going to work very well. So let me go from top to bottom to release it. There we go, now I can get that down. So sometimes like you might have a weird edge and it buckles, so you can't get the transfer down, in which case do part of it going up the edge and then, you know, leave that little tip, and then you can round it around the corner just fine, and then it will lay down over top. So okay, and there's my hole, which I'll kind of flip to the inside. And I think that works because you can still tell, like there's so much of the lemon there, you can still tell it's a lemon. So I'm gonna put a bunch of lemons coming down and do some of the greenery, some of the leaves and things, kind of twining down around here. And then we'll see how it looks then, because it needed some perking up. It just wasn't good. Okay, so I'm gonna carry on with the lemons, and we'll see what we think then. Okay, I feel totally differently about this now. This has to go get sealed, but oh my gosh, that made the world of difference, didn't it? Just layering on some of those lemons, and I cut all the lemons apart. I cut their little leaves apart, added the leaves where it made sense, and oh, I missed a hole. But the idea, you know, is I needed something that was big enough that when I started popping those holes in, I didn't lose the perspective of what it was. So the lemon seemed, one, bright and cheerful, but also big enough that even with all of these holes in it, to let the candlelight through, that you still know it's a lemon. You still know it's a leaf. And okay, that's super sweet now. Okay, I love that. All right, I'm gonna go seal this, and I am going to go put a second coat on the boot because we got to get that moving, and then maybe this guy will be dry, and we can take a look as to whether or not we're going to add some gold. I'm likely going to do the gold just because I can't not do it, but we'll see. All right, this guy dried, and I decided, yes, I was going to use a little bit of the rub and buff, the gold leaf rub and buff. So what I did was I did half of him, and then I could show you. I like it with the gold. So see what you guys think. So this side has a little bit of the gold, this side doesn't. So it's not a lot. It just, oh Lord, it's heavy. It just highlights it a little bit, just on the highs. So I used a really light touch, so I didn't want it overdone. It just kind of adds just a little bit more definition to it. This self-seals, so I'm not gonna have to seal it again. So I just have the other half to do, and then this baby is done. Yeah, I love it with the gold. Okay, I love this guy now. He was kind of ugly to begin with. I didn't really like him, but oh, I'm loving him now. And I think the person that gave it to me is gonna want it back. Our boot has got its 2 coats of paint on, and it's also been sealed with an outdoor sealer. The next step is for this one to also create a bit of a wash. So we want to add a little bit more detail to it without going crazy painting everything specific colors. So much the same as we created a wash using an outdoor sealer for our big cement Poseidon face, we're going to do the same for this, but we're going to do it more in a brown tone. So I'm going to pour a bit of sealer in here. Close that up. Obviously my hammer has been lying in some sealer. All right, and I have layered chocolate by DIY. Oh, also needing a few taps here. Okay. And I'm going to make, look, like this is just a tiny bit, but because of those pigments, look at how much color you get. So better to start with a little bit at a time and add it and see how it goes. I've got my cloths off to the side. I've got my little chip brush. And I'm going to do the same. I'm going to paint it all over. And then I'm going to take my towels and I'm going to wipe away. Now, I envision that I have one step after this still to add just a little bit more detail, but I want to get some of that worn, aged coloring to this. This is just too stark. It was our base only. And down in these laces, down in the details, I'm going to let that glaze sit down in there. So you can see how it's already started to age it a little bit, darken it out a bit, make it a little bit more interesting. And that's what we're after. So I'm going to do that to the whole boot, and then I'm going to let it dry fully and come back at you for the next step, which I envision will be the last. Okay, now that my boot has dried and has this wonderful aged patina, I just want to highlight some of the details a little bit more. So I'm just taking a thin brush, I'm putting it into that same mixture that we made, and I'm just going to be following some of those detail lines. So adding just a little bit more intensity to it. And you can take this mixture that you made, right, with, you know, this is with my layered chocolate and my sealer, or you could take a product like Dark and Decrepit, which has its own built-in sealer, and you could use that. But because I've already got this made up, I'm just doing that. But all I'm looking at doing is kind of following some of these lines and just intensifying it a little bit. Just adding in a little bit more of that detail to make it pop and stand out from the rest of the finish, just that little bit more. So you can see those lines just get highlighted just a little bit more. It's just going to deepen it, and it's just going to highlight some of those details just a bit more. So I'm going to follow that. I'll do some down along the trim here and along here, maybe around the grommets, just you know, making it pop just that little bit more. And then when that dries, that'll be done. Our backyards during the summertime become our living room, become our kitchen. They become spaces that we want to make the most of, because certainly here in Ontario, the season is just way too short. So today's video was all about taking some found items and zhuzhing them up a little bit, cleaning them up, doing some things to them to be able to help us inexpensively create outdoor spaces that we love and that we enjoy. So let me kind of walk through a couple of the things that we did. And the idea with these is just to give you some perspective on taking found items, taking some thrifted items, and how you can very quickly and really quite easily be able to switch them up to be able to fit your decor. So this little kind of oddball piece, I think, becomes a very cute little outdoor candle light. So a little lantern for you, whether you choose to use an electric candle or a real candle in here. You've got the shade that's going to protect it a little bit, and just with a little bit of black spray paint and some silver gilding, it just becomes a cute little piece that isn't going to be easily blown over and is going to be super cute. The one that I was kind of hesitating on, but I just love now, is, you know, the lemons are everything, right? So taking this lantern, being able to paint it up in the new Haint Blue from the Cottage Colors from DIY, but it's those lemon transfers. So the lemon drop transfer from IOD, dropping some flowers in here, maybe vines if you've got them. You could put a candle in there quite easily. And again, if you have a candle that is a battery operated one, you can still get away with adding the florals in. So super cute little piece, a little shaky at the start, but I think it redeemed itself. And here's our finished little planter. So cute with a little bit of that floral on the bottom, easy enough to hang up on your wall, out in your backyard, against a fence, against a brick wall, whatever you've got going. Be able to plant in your herbs or some florals, whatever works. I have the little boot. Now, most people would have thrown that boot out. It had some holes in it that we were able to fix and repair. Pretty tough to be able to see where those holes even were. And it just becomes like this cute, worn, old little decor piece. And just with a little bit of paint, some of that glazing that we mixed up ourselves in a color, in this one using the layered chocolate, so a little bit of a chocolate color, and then adding some of your own greenery and things, it just becomes a cute little accent piece on the patio. Speaking of accent pieces, we've got our two, let me get these guys over here. So these we just brightened up with some white spray paint. So we've sprayed them, we've sealed them. You're able to add in a little bit of your florals, maybe some greenery, some vines, whatever you've got going. But putting these on to be able to decorate up a fence line, create a little bit of point of interest, just a super cute idea. You can easily switch these out, drop in some candles into these as well, and be able to have just a fun little interesting decor piece. So look for some of these. People get rid of them as soon as they get a little discolored. They look a little worn, and they move on to something else. A little bit of paint, they're good to go. This guy, these next two are two of my favorites. So this, you can see before I lift it all the way up, right? So it's got the big heavy stand. It was a super fun find, but I love adding the lanterns to it. So much more practical than having candles, because with the heat that we've had, your candles would just be molten pools, and I would never remember to bring them in. But adding on the solar lanterns, it zhuzhes it up, makes it pretty cute, and I don't have to worry about them, right? They're just going to sit out in the sun, they're going to absorb away, and then glow for me all evening while we're sitting outside enjoying the patio. A little bit of that gold kind of zhuzhes them up, ties them all together. The only thing that I did off camera was once I had all five on, I stood above it and made sure they were all angled in a nice straight line. So that helped. The final piece that we had was our, I don't know, Poseidon guy here. So you can see that painting him out brightened him, adding that bohemian blue glaze really made the details pop, and then a little bit of that gold gilding just with the light touch all over, again, just really highlighted those details. He looked pretty old, pretty worn, pretty grungy to begin with, and I love him now. So whether you choose to hang him on your wall, he's got hanging hardware on him, or you choose to lay him out in a flower bed, so he becomes a decorative element that way, your choice, but definitely easy to be able to switch him up, make him pop, give him new life, and be able to continue to use him and to find some joy in him. So all kind of different projects and different repairs, all things that were found at the thrift store. So definitely kind of look at some pieces that have some possibilities. Even if you don't quite know what to do with it right then, hang on to it until inspiration hits. And I hope that's really what the video did for you, is just not to go out and find the exact same items, because that'll never happen, but that it gets you looking at some items that you maybe have around your home that you're thinking look old, tired, need to go. Or if you're going out thrifting, getting a different way of looking at something, how it could be used, how it could be upcycled, and beautify your backyard. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. I am looking forward to seeing you on the next one. Feel free to drop by the website, queenbeecreationshome.com, for any of the paint and transfers that I used today. And until next time, take care.